And Dulwich Hamlet!
Down to Emily Curtis now. Oh, what a strike that is!
Nice Trinity.
Emily Owen hoofs it up towards Una Lou again. To Silver. Una Lou, and yes! She gets that first goal of the season. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to for episode 3 of the Women's Football Debrief with your hosts Owen Mason and Ben Stevens. Firstly, Ben, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, Owen. How are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad, actually. It's nice for a change to actually have a guest with us, actually.
It is.
Let's get straight into the guest, because it's someone we know very, very well indeed. It's Cheltenham's assistant manager for this season, Marvin Dempsey. We'll call you Marv for the whole podcast, because that's what we love to call you. Marv, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Thanks for the invite. Just got back from forest school with my son, so outside in the rain, cutting up wood and whatever. So yeah, pretty good morning so far. Nice to be back inside in the warm though.
Nice. Yeah. How's it? Was that like your normal sort of? You week off in terms of you've got the football on the weekends. Normally that's the week off. What's your normal week like in terms of when you're not training sessions or travelling all the way to Essex like we are this weekend?
Not football then. I just look after my son. So it's pretty good balance. I suppose it was pretty weird. What was it, a year ago? When my partner went back to work full time, or 4 days a week. I stepped down a little bit for work wise, which is pretty cool. Going from working 7 days a week to they're still working and such, looking after Idris, but it's pretty good. So Mondays, I think we just gymnastics, and then Wednesdays is forest school, and then a couple of days a week nursery, and then another day where we just chill out, play football, basically just run around, tire them out, so we can both have a nap.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, how have you found this season so far at Cheltenham, making that change over?
It was good. I mean, it's been real fun. It's been challenging. Obviously, my first experience full time with Tier 3. We've come up against Tier 3 teams in the past, and that was always fun, challenging, trying to come up with game plan scenarios of how we can win those games. I think this season's been, it's been good. Obviously, the top 6 sides. Top 3, I think, at the moment are very, very good. Not just like their starting 11, I think, which might have been in the past where teams were very strong in their starting 11. I think squads these days with the finances and the infrastructures in place is definitely a challenge. But I think one that I've really enjoyed, and one which I wanted to try to test myself and put myself out of my comfort zone, which the last 5-6 years have been. It's always a little bit daunting and nervous going into a brand new environment, especially an environment that's been pretty consistent over the last 4 or 5 years with Tom and some of the players that are there. As you can see, I think this year with obviously Mo making 100 appearances, I think Siege and Mega 50 plus and whatever. So I think there'll be a couple more accolades as well from the players making top appearances as well this season. So that's been good. I think you always want to come in and make a good impression as well. So sometimes I'll probably try a little bit too hard with my sessions and try to impress a little bit too much, which sometimes happens. But I think now I'm settled and pretty comfortable within the environment. But I think every session, every meeting is always challenging as well, because I think the players they want to be challenged and they want to be the best they can be, and we want to finish as hard as we can. So I think that's been real pleasing to be a part of so far.
Yeah, I'm currently sitting 5th in the league at the moment. It's really good where we are. The league's so close and tight, and with the League Cup as well, obviously going out to Swindon on Sunday just gone. What did you make of that game at the county ground?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful pitch, beautiful environment to be a part of. For the first 20 minutes, I thought we acquitted ourselves at the venue. So I think we were dominant in every part. We kept the ball really well. We looked threatening. We controlled their transitions, and we won first and second balls. And then I think the goal we scored is a combination of what we've been working on the last that couple months in terms of controlling possession and penetration and switch of play, and then the cross and finish was superb. I think it was 11 passes and going from one side to the other and then back again. So that was really pleasing, I think. And then to suddenly concede 2 goals, I think within maybe 4 or 5 minutes of each other, I think that maybe rocked us a little bit. And yeah, no disrespect to Swindon, I think that played into the hands really, and they played a little bit more direct, squeezed the player a little bit, which then we just didn't really allow us, or we weren't really good enough. We stopped winning first and second balls. Didn't really play as well as we had done the first 20 minutes or previous 3 or 4 games. So, and again, goals change games and momentum. And I think the first 15 minutes, I think in the second half, we were really good again. On another day, probably should have scored another three goals, especially in the first 15 minutes. And then obviously they scored to make it 3-1. And it was an uphill challenge from then. And I don't really think we created too much after that. But I think, yeah, it's bitterly disappointing to go out, because I think there's another opportunity to, I think, go a step further than the club had ever been before in the League Cup. So to get to the last 4 within our region, I think it would have been, and it would have been really good. And but ultimately we weren't good enough on the day. But saying that, the last month or so we've been superb. So I think there's always going to be those times where success isn't linear, is it? There's always up and down. So hopefully, knowing the group, we should be able to bounce back against # on the weekend.
Yeah, with that, Marv, as you say, it's been a nice, before that game at the weekend, it was that month unbeaten, and it's been the best start Cheltenham have had to a season since the promotion season 4 years ago. So when you look at it like that, and then going into like a crunch period now with league games, and of course that FA Cup game to come in a few weeks against Lewis, how pleasing is that, barring the weekend, how pleasing is that to see you just in such a good progression in this side, a fairly new side at the start of the season as well? Yeah,
very much so. I think Tom called it, and I think if you look at the league now, I think it was our first 6 games were going to be against the top 6 teams, arguably. Obviously, Exeter finished 4th last season, so to start off against them was always going to be difficult. I don't think they were a change too much within their environment. I think there might have maybe 2 or 3 signings, and a couple of those signings have had Tier 3 experience as well, so they know the league, know the players. And again, we're quite a young group as well with the players that we brought in. So I think there was always going to be that gelling time. And like you said, it's pretty much a new group with, I think, 7 or 8 new signings. So there was always going to be a settling period from that as well. And I think if you look at Oxford as well, who had double the amount of new signings as well, it can go either one way or the other. And obviously Plymouth and Bournemouth had big changes as well, but they've managed to hit the ground running. And I think from our point of view, we've also done that well and picked up points where maybe other teams wouldn't have thought we would have done. And also taken advantage of the games that we have needed to win. And arguably, probably about right where we are. Maybe the Oxford game, we probably maybe a little bit lucky with that one. Obviously, with Charlotte making an unbelievable save and them hitting and then missing an opportunity from about 6 yards out. But then Gwali, I kind of felt like we probably should have won that game as well. Bournemouth, the first half as well. Another day we're 2-0 up, and obviously you never really know whether we still might have gone on to lose that game. But you never really know. So I think every game there's been elements of, I think, what this group's capable of, and I think hopefully moving forward, and the last month or so, I think we've just been a little bit more consistent throughout the games, which has been really pleasing to see. And I think the group can only get stronger the more training time, the more games we play. And like you say, hopefully the weekend's game against Swindon was just a little blimp before the last 4 games of the season. I think it is this half of this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you say, it's you mentioned it as well there with in terms of your first step up to Tier 3, in terms of that. But you've seen this season especially, everything has just become a hell of a lot more competitive. How pleasing has that been just to see such a competitive start to the season? Where you look at it now, I know we're only still in November, but there's only a few points between us and 5th now, and the teams in the relegation spots. It's very, very open-ended this year.
Yeah, very much so. I think that's what's pleasing. I think you look at Real Bedford. I think when we beat them 4-1, they were in the relegation zone, and I think they won maybe 4 out of 5, and obviously they're on, I think, 16 points, a point ahead of us, or a couple of points ahead of us. So and then if you look at hashtag as well, they've won. I think they won a couple of games and drew a game as well. So with it being so close, like a couple of wins, a couple of losses can really impact the team positions. Other than obviously the top three, I think, which I think maybe arguably a little bit stronger because of their squad depth and whatever, and like I said earlier, the finances. But I think other than hopefully this season it will be a 3, maybe 4 horse race. I think previous seasons, because of the strength of other teams, if you go like you had Ipswich and Portsmouth, obviously they were super strong and they were always going to be favourites. Obviously hashtag I think pushed both teams both seasons pretty well, but I think with the top 3 at the moment, I think hopefully it will be a little bit more competitive, and I think anyone can beat anyone on their day as well. So it should be an exciting run in as well. I think added with the fact that there's a playoff place as well, I think there could be, with 7 or 8 games to go, some teams are thinking, well, we can't really progress at the moment, but you're looking at it, you might be going up to 5th place. You never know, with a run of games that could potentially sneak in there. So that change has made it a lot more competitive, which has been good to see and exciting to be a part of.
Definitely.
Yeah, and just on the FA Cup as well, obviously it was a historic run for Cheltenham last year, making it all the way to the 4th round. What does it mean for you personally just to be a part of that competition?
Yeah, really important. I think maybe the last 3 or 4 years, I think that the FA have done a really good job at promoting it. Obviously, the finances in it are at the highest they've ever been. I think the conversation in terms of the disparity between the men's and the women's FA Cup prize fund is probably a conversation for another day. But again, it's really important from an individual's point of view. It's arguably the most prestigious cup competition in the world to be a part of, and it creates good opportunities for all clubs, no matter what their level. And for Cheltenham especially, to get to the 4th round, I think from a financial point of view is vitally important. If you can always get as far as you can, but as an individual, you always want to try to compete against the best teams and the best players and the best managers and coaches. So I think the FA Cup offers that, and obviously we probably would have preferred a so-called easier draw than Lewis, but the positive, we've got them at home. We've beaten them before as well with really good performance. So it's one to look forward to in a couple of weeks. It's a week Sunday, isn't it?
That's
week
right.
Sunday, yeah. So it's one we're looking forward to.
Yeah, and just so if we now jump right back to the start of your footballing, coaching, managing career, first of all, how did you kind of get into the scene of coaching in women's football?
So I suppose it started off when I first moved to Bristol. I think it was around 2012, I think it was, when I did I think it was my level 2. I did it in my course was 2 players. Lauren Haynes, who she's out in Dubai at the moment, but she was playing for Bristol City. And I think is it Armour James as well, who's now the Welsh captain?
Oh, wow.
I think that's how you pronounce it. So they were both on my course. So I think I knew about women's football then, but didn't really know how to watch or be involved or whatever. And I think a lot of the roles available then were all voluntary. So it was something I was interested in, but couldn't really afford to do at the time. So I needed to get paid to coach, really. I followed their journeys, and then I suppose it wasn't really until when I moved to London, working for Fulham, whether they had a girls' program and a women's first team. So my friends were in charge of both of their programs, so I just went and watched and helped when I could. But my first role was for St Mary's University. So I went for the first team's job, didn't get it, and got the second team's job. And when we sat down and went through their expectations for it, it was just basically to ensure that no sessions got cancelled. And no games got cancelled through like lack of players or whatever. And it just struck me as kind of odd as to like why they would be the only expectations like for that, really, because obviously only working within the boys programs before that had never, like, it had always been like about player development, about winning, like can we get the players onto different levels, can you find them teams and so on. But it turned out like no sessions got cancelled because everyone turned up. But even so, like one of them was on a Friday at 7:30 a.m., which I found a struggle to try to get to. So the fact that players had to get up to do that as well is a massive testament to how much they love football and how much they wanted to progress and develop. We ended up winning the league, going unbeaten from there and getting promoted. So I think that was my first proper taste in it. And then I suppose I think 6 months later it was. Got the opportunity to work at Dulwich, so I think that was my first step, and haven't looked back since, really.
Yeah, that's, you say that with that, Marvin, in terms of that big move, obviously to London. Obviously, for anyone in any walk of life, a move to the capital, of course, is it's spanned job opportunities, but in the footballing aspect as well. Men or women's game, there's just so many teams in that big London area, and when you get to the likes of Fulham. How, first of all, it must have been quite a nervous move for you, moving all the way to London, but at the same time, it just really broadened your opportunities as well.
I mean, I was kind of fortunate. I had a lot of friends that lived there as well, so like I'd been there for weekends and whatever. It's never the same as packing up and moving and whatever, but like I was familiar with certain areas. Fulham wasn't an area I was familiar with at all. So, or Rains Park, where the training ground was based, or Cheltenham as well, where the foundation was based. I think it was just a good opportunity. So I think after the 5 and a half years of working, I think I worked under every single program you could have worked on for the foundation, and was also fortunate enough to be part of like the academy as well. Saw some unbelievable players there. Learn a lot from everybody that worked there, from like walking football to disability football to like health, to the community aspect as well. So I worked on like the Kicks program and ran their traineeships, which is based at Craven Cottage, which was really good. And we generally change people's lives in terms of getting them education or jobs and whatever, and getting them back into earning money so they can live and have that self-worth. So it was amazing. And then the football element was also really, really good. So managed to watch lots of sessions and lots of the academy games and first team games, and training as well. I think it's a little bit different now, where they've got lots of barriers blocking anybody watching any of the first team. But I used to just take my lunchbox down there, and it used to be real open, so you could just watch the sessions until security guards would walk around and either move you on your way or just stand there and watch with you. So it was a really good environment to be a part of.
No, definitely so. Yeah, and obviously when moving on then to obviously a big time of your life there in terms of your coaching career at Dulwich Hamlet. First of all, when you first moved there, as you say, it was a club that were Tier 5 at the time. Am I right in saying, or were they when you moved there?
Yeah, Tier 5. So Dulwich was where before we moved. I used to live in Crystal Palace, so it was literally only a 15-minute drive to Dulwich, I think it was. And I just saw, I think it was South London Press, I think it was on social media, just saying that like Dulwich had merged with like another team which is called AFC Phoenix. So I just, on the off chance, just sent my email in with my CV and just said, like, if there's any coaching opportunities available, then I'd love to try to get involved. I knew a little bit about Dulwich in terms of like the fan base and like the ethics and the culture of the club, so I thought it fitted really well. And like I said, like you said, London, there's so many teams, but most of the time it always involves a lot of travel. So to find a team hopefully that was pretty local, was also a benefit as well. Then luckily maybe a couple of months afterwards, I obviously didn't think anything would come of it because I didn't get anything back. And then luckily got an email to come down to watch a game and have a chat with the players that were running it at the time. So it was a good opportunity. Unfortunately, the manager Farouk passed away maybe, and when was I think it was in October or November 2019. So I didn't really get to work with him too often because of that, and because of my commitments at Fulham at the time, I couldn't really commit to the training sessions until I got offered the role to step in and replace him. But it was a sad time to take over, but I think we did really well from there. Yeah, started Tier 5, and I think from my point of view that league is so competitive, like you say, in terms of the teams that are there and so many teams that are around there, so many players, and it's so competitive. It was tough to get out of Tier 5 at that time. So I think there was like QPR, there was Ashford who went into the National League. Obviously, you got Fulham now who are their own animal, different beast, and now they've been taken over by the club. So they'll probably be in Tier 3 next season if they carry on how they're going. But it was a super part of the time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, what was those few years like, in terms of that promotion, as you say, to Tier 4, and of course, building quite an extraordinary thing there in terms of getting crowds of over 1,000 people there, and that's, for that level, that must have been such a pleasing thing to see under your stewardship.
Yeah, very much so. I think that's one thing clubs could learn from Dulwich, and think they wanted to try to have the similar matchday experience at men's and women's games. I think obviously one very important is that it was at the same stadium, so like those things are a little bit easier to do. So in terms of like making sure that the bar's open, like the TVs are on, you can buy food and drinks you could do it outside and inside. So I think regardless of the crowd at the time, I think they still kept that experience going. So I think when I first went in, I think the average crowd was 150 to 200. And I think it was tough to begin with, because I think we were top of the league, and then COVID hit. And then it came back again, and we were top of the league again, and then COVID hit again. And then the following season, there was an upward movement application, and QPR got chosen over us. I think mainly because of their so-called academy setup or youth setup, which I suppose is really pleasing to see. But we knew from the outside that none of those players from their youth setup were going to play for the first team. Also I think they mentioned that they play at Loftus Road, what it was called at the time. But again, they only played one or two a season. So yeah, we were bitterly disappointed in that. I think the next season we're probably still a little bit upset, frustrated that we weren't playing in the National League. But I think the next 18 months, I think myself knew what we needed to do, what players we needed, and also help grow our fan base as well. So I think the title winning season, I think we lost the first two games. So yeah, after that, we definitely weren't thinking of trying to get promoted. We're probably more thinking about whether we're going to keep our job or not. But yeah, luckily we won. Yeah, we won the next 20 games, or went unbeaten the next 20, and had good FA Cup run. I think we lost to Billericay in the last minute of the second round, I think it was. We beat London Bees, who were in Tier 3 at that time as well, and competing with, I think it was Cheltenham as well. There's a league above us. So yeah, in a couple of other competitions as well. So yeah, we knew that we had the players that could compete at Tier 4, and like you said, the fan base grew and grew. And I think the last season, like I was there, I think it was 550, 600 was the average attendance, and like I said, the highest attendance was, I think it was just over 1,100. So you can definitely hear it definitely notice it. I think the first 20 minutes of games you never really notice it, but I think when there's a little break or whatever, or there's a goal or a tackle or whatever, and I think the Dulwich crowd are very good. There's like a pepper army which took a drum. They had music or instruments. There's a drum. One of those things with women's football, I think they booed other teams as well, which I think there's been many conversations whether that should be in women's football. And I think there were lots of disagreements from players where like the goalkeeper was running up to take it, and you get the old ooh, and then, which from our point of view was amazing. So like it offered a hostile crowd, and I think. For women's football, I think that's good to create a little bit of environment within games if you can. But again, it was always respectful as well. So I think that was really, really pleasing. And then the National League as well. Playing one season there, I think we finished 8th. I think it was. I think looking back, we probably should have finished 6th with the performances and the points we probably should have got from games, but. You only get what you deserve, really, and by the end of the final whistle, it's what you deserve. So, but yeah, it was a good experience. Again, I think we got to what was it, round 2 in the FA Cup as well. So, it's always pleasing. It was a good 5 years there.
Yeah, when you're on a long unbeaten run like you were in your promotion season, how hard is it to keep? Like mentally, the players thinking like just taking it one game at a time and not thinking about going for that title?
Yeah, good question. I think we were kind of lucky in terms of we were a couple games behind. So I think it was Dartford who basically were top until around February time. So I think that we knew that we always had to win games. So I think the fact that you're 6 points or 9 points behind with a couple of games in hand, like I think it changed the mentality a little bit in terms of like we just knew we had to win every single game that we went into. I suppose it wasn't until the Christmas period where I think we had gone maybe was it the 10 games or whatever it was that we knew that after Christmas where I think we had Dartford the second game back. So we knew that we had to win that game. So I think maybe move with a couple of points. So I think that was, I think maybe a little bit easier in terms of like making sure that the change room and the players were completely zoned into every training session, every game, because we knew that we couldn't drop any more points. And I think once we beat Dartford, I think we beat Dartford, 5-2, I think it was. I think that was a crowd of 800 watching that. So I think from that game, I think we knew. I think we had to play Fulham at home in April as well. So I think once we won that game, I think those are the 2 hardest games in the league. We weren't looking ahead, but I think we focused on just the remaining games.
Yeah, with that, as you say, I was looking at the some of the photos from that promotion winning, at the end of the season with those winning game. That must have been such a surreal moment, especially when you celebrate with a trophy with a fantastic set of coaching staff and the players. That must have been, when that all sunk in, that must have been one hell of a proud moment for you and the staff and the players.
Yeah, very much so. It's kind of the whole day was kind of weird because I think we were the last game of the season, so I think it was like the 17th of May or whatever. So I think everyone else had already finished, and we just couldn't lose a game by like 12 goals. I think it was.
Yeah.
So you knew that it was probably going to be yours, like considering one we hadn't lost. For 20 games or whatever it was within the league, and I don't think 3 I think was the most we've ever conceded in that season. So we kind of knew it was there, but obviously we still had to be fully focused on the game so that we could enjoy it. And I think we won 5-1 in the end. But I think we scored 2 early goals, which I think calmed everyone down, and everyone knew that the night was going to be as exactly how we wanted it to go. So it was super proud. I think again, I think we took over 300 fans. Where did we play? I think we played Worthing. So no, we played Saltine. Sorry, I can't remember what ground. I think it was at Lancing's ground. I can't remember where we actually played, to be honest. But yeah, it was miles away from Dulwich or South London. So to have that many people there, which we knew we might get a few, but we never knew we'd get that many. The Dulwich are pretty good at celebrating, so the flares were out pretty early, which most times they get in trouble for. But I think they were a little bit cleverer this time where they did it, so managed to get away from that. But yeah, to see not just the staff that are associated to the football side of it, but like the staff there behind the scenes. So obviously the chairman was there, the general manager was there, everyone was there celebrating. I think it's the first trophy the club had won for a few years since the men got promoted from the Ishman into the National League. So yeah, I think it was a proud moment for everyone. And yeah, from my point of view, it was 5 years of hard work and dedication and sacrifices in terms of what you need to do to become a manager, and all those conversations with players, with staff, like the late nights, early mornings, obviously no holidays throughout the season as well, do you know what I mean? So I think those kind of things kind of go unnoticed or not spoken about really, especially if you've got a young family or whatever as well. So I think yeah, it was a real pleasing moment, and I think Dulwich have got a good tradition in terms of their next just before you go up to the stadium, there's like their promotion roundabout. So I think the club have been talking about that for a long time. So I think the players were buzzing to celebrate the evening at the promotion roundabout. So there's videos and photos of basically East Dulwich getting shut down by like over 200-300 Dulwich fans. Letting off flares, stopping buses going through, random people just pouring out the pubs that had no idea what was going on. So, yeah, it's a sore head in the morning, but it was definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's when it comes to obviously when it was your final game at Dulwich last season, your final home game as well, you got the win on that final game at home. That must have been quite an emotional day for you, because as you say, it's a big chunk of your life dedicated to quite a big club in Dulwich.
Yeah, it was like I thought, because I think I made a decision and told the club maybe a month prior to that, so I kind of thought that like all my emotion and I don't know, closure had almost happened, I suppose. But I think the last home game as well. I think in front of 600 people as well. It wasn't until after the game, I think, to beat Real Bedford as well, who had gone unbeaten up until that point. And I think me and my coaching staff had debate about this all the time in terms of they had like undefeated T-shirts or unbeaten T-shirts or invincible T-shirts like ready to go, and like some of them, my coaching staff were like, "Oh, that's pretty disrespectful" or whatever. But I was like, if you've gone 21 games unbeaten and you're playing against a team that are eighth, like you would probably do exactly the same thing. But to beat them in the manner we beat them as well, it was kind of bittersweet, because if we would have played as well as we did in that game against the best team in the league, we should have finished higher and maybe threatened in and around the top half of the tables. But yeah, from my point of view, until we spoke to the players at the end, that was my probably most emotional. I didn't realise how emotional I would be, but and in the bar afterwards as well, we had our end of season awards as well, so it was pretty emotional then as well. It was kind of weird that we still had a game 3 weeks later when we had Arsenal in the cup final, which I don't know why it was 3 weeks later in terms of how the FA managed to mess that up. But yeah, it was a really good way to go out, and I think I was really well looked after as well from the club as well. So I got some nice gifts, some nice thank you cards and whatever. So it's a club I'll always look to, and one of the results I look for at the weekends.
Yeah, and I know when you first joined Cheltenham and I did that interview with you, you said originally your plan was to take a bit of a break from football, but it was a conversation with Tom that kind of convinced you to join Cheltenham as his assistant manager. What was said in that conversation by Tom?
So yeah, that's true. So basically I had there 5 years. I'm pretty much working 7 days a week with another role I had at that time as well at Girls United. So I wanted to try to take some time off and reflect and hopefully go in view other environments and you can't really go out and view other sessions or other managers' coaching sessions just because I didn't have the time. So I was hoping to try to do that. And Tom was Cheltenham was one of the places I wanted to try to come in. I kept being on a couple of courses with Tom, so we got on really well. And so when I phoned him and asked, I think I messaged him and asked, he said, yeah, absolutely no problem. Just let me know when you're ready or whatever. And I think he messaged me a couple of weeks later, really, and just said that I think obviously Mike was assistant at the time. I think Mike has gone to TNS, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think he has. So whether Tom knew about, he had already 2 weeks prior to that, I'm not quite sure. But I think that's when Tom just said that actually there's a potentially an opportunity to come in, and I thought it's just one of those opportunities I might not have gotten before. So I think as soon as the season starts, then coaching teams are usually set up. They don't usually change too often unless unfortunately there's a management change or whatever. So I probably would have had to wait until Christmas time or afterwards. And I think after speaking to my partner, she was like, we might as well go for it. I think it's a good opportunity, and one I'm thankful for so far. It's been really enjoyable, and hopefully I've added something to the team and to the environment and helped Tom out, which is good. So looking forward to the next 6 months of the season.
Yeah, and even with that, Marv, in terms of, as you say, bringing something else into the team in terms of culture and in terms of the dynamic of the team. Even you look back a few weeks ago when we were stuck in traffic for 2 hours in the centre of London, the London streets that you might know quite well, but it was in terms of we were stuck in the traffic for a good few hours in that sense. But even then, the camaraderie in the squad after the FA Cup win was just sky high, wasn't it? How nice was that to have just a really nice dynamic, great banter around the team?
Yeah, very much so. I think, I wasn't really thankful for that when I was getting home at 10:30. But prior to that, I think most of the bus journeys, I think the togetherness within the group is really, really good. I think now the players are starting to get to know each other, coach and staff as well, and obviously the media team as well. You guys do a fantastic job and don't always just do your media. You're always collecting footballs or whatever and helping us out if and when needed. So I think the culture that at the club is really, really good in terms of that togetherness and everyone enjoying each other's company, because it's about the important amount of time that we do spend together, and especially a coach journey. I think it's a good opportunity to get to know everybody, and like you say, Will probably disagree with the banter side of it. So sometimes he's on the other end and whatnot, but it's pretty good. I mean, I was never interested in F1 at all until Ben and Kay sit there for steams 24 hours going through it and discussing it. So you learn something new when you're in that environment and with people for that amount of time. So it's really enjoyable. It's going to be another long Sunday, long travel, and I think if you do have good relationships with the staff and the players, I think it definitely helps those longer days and those difficult moments during games and during the season and whatever. And everyone's got their own private stuff going on that you never really know about. So as long as those moments are hopefully enjoyable and people feel comfortable, then hopefully I've played a little part of that.
No, great stuff. And just finally, Marv, on a wider note for the women's game, as you mentioned, when we were talking about how that was progressing in terms of at Dulwich, in terms of the fans, in terms of getting everybody involved at the club. And of course, when you said about the socials for the Women's FA Cup and the league have just expanded so much this season, how do you see that progressing in the next few years? A really loaded question, that, but in terms of how do you see it going in the next few years, just so that progression, on a wider point, when you see the Women's Euros, of course, England back-to-back winners of that as well, where do you see that going in the next few years? Because, it looks like it's going from strength to strength, season after season.
Yeah, definitely. I think it might be a little bit controversial, but I think if you would have asked a lot of the players over the last, like from the elite level, probably even down to tier 5, obviously the financial element is fantastic, but I think a lot of the players probably would have wanted a better infrastructure first. Better training facilities, like better medical, S&C, physio. Like I'm pretty sure that would have been the first port of call before getting any money whatsoever. And I think that's definitely one element. I think that has changed. I think there's obviously different clubs that have different finances, different opportunities. But I think if you look at even in our league, the top 3, I think their infrastructure is fantastic. They've got everything that probably Championship level do, or WSL2 as it's called now do. So I think on a whole, I think the whole pyramid is improving and seeing the value in having good infrastructure first. And then, now like the financial element as well. I think that there are players that are getting value for the hard work that they are putting in and the quality that they do have. So I think that's really important. I think that's only going to grow, and hopefully it will spread out a little bit as well. So it's not just the teams that are backed by Premier League or Championship clubs from the men's game. I think the investment in the women's game throughout the tiers, I think, is really important, and I think adds massive value. So hopefully that will continue, and I think now there's more broadcaster money in the top two leagues, and obviously WSL2 now they're part of the PFA as well. So I think that's another step closer in terms of making that all professional, and I think hopefully the money will then drip down and hopefully improve the lower leagues and from tier 3 down, and not only that, hopefully we see it with Cheltenham as well, like amount of girls that are coming to watch us and boys coming to watch. Hopefully the women's game will be able to be viewed as a real entertaining package in its own right, instead of being compared to the men's game, which I think are two different things. And hopefully Cheltenham as well will continue to grow and develop and overachieve. I think from the outside, I think maybe teams were expecting us to be towards the bottom end of the league, and I think the last month has proven that if we're fully focused and at the top of our game, then we're a match for anybody, and hopefully that will continue for the rest of the season.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I think that's everything we'd planned to talk about, Marv. So thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Great stuff. Yeah, that was Marvin Dempsey there on the Women's Football Debrief. An absolute pleasure to have him on. And that's it for us, isn't it, Ben? It's been great to have our first guest, as we said the other week. It's nice for us to not have to ramble on for almost an hour, so it's always good to have that sort of break apart. But Marv, big thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Worries, you're welcome.
Thank you. Very good stuff, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next week for some more. Yeah, we slacked a bit last week. We didn't have a podcast episode, did we, Ben? So we'll definitely try and make it a weekly thing. So big thank you for listening and watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But for now, goodbye.
Goodbye.